A few months ago, in a recent press conference with a bunch of Russian businessmen, Vladimir Putin said that he would like to personally strangle Western companies and Western social media that still exist in Russia.
Ушедшим компаниям, которые не до конца ушли, например, вот из сервиса там Zoom или Microsoft, они до сих пор продолжают вести деятельность.
Надо их душить. Согласен полностью.
That right there must hit so hard, and it's probably so tough if you're like a 80 IQ's brain dead Vatnik, or if you're like a 90-year-old grandma that does nothing but watch Russian propaganda TV. But the thing is, Putin is actually being honest for once, because this is exactly what Russia has been doing. Since the year of 2022, Russia has banned Facebook, Instagram, X, previously known as Twitter, Discord, they banned Viber, and they also banned the messenger Signal. They also banned every single media that opposes the government in Russia, and also every single Western media. And they've also slowed down YouTube to the point where a lot of people in Russia cannot even access it without a VPN. Oh, and also they put that huge gorillion fine on Google, the amount of which is bigger than the entire world economy. So, Russia's message is pretty clear. And even though, for example, right now, Russian media is doing damage control and Russian officials are saying that WhatsApp is not going to be banned in Russia. Yes, by the way, despite WhatsApp being a Facebook product, unlike Facebook and Instagram, it is still not banned in Russia yet. Maybe because too many Russian grandmas like to use it to send cute videos to their grandsons and granddaughters, right? You know the kind of videos that I'm talking about. If you have an Eastern European grandma, you've definitely received one of these. Even though they're saying that they're not gonna ban WhatsApp, Vladimir Putin has recently signed an official law about the creation of a state messenger. Or a national messenger, that's what it says here. It is a messenger in order to which you're gonna have to register using your passport information. And of course, all of your data is going to be accessed by the Russian special services. And the funniest part about all of this is that recently, after this national messenger finally released to the public, the Russian people hated it so much that they brought the rating of the app down to 1.0 stars on Google Play Store. Hey there people, it is your boy Roman, your favorite neighborhood Russian, and in today's video, we'll talk about a new level of censorship coming to Russia. We're not only gonna talk about Russia's new great replacement for every social media app that the Russian people absolutely hate and are making fun of right now, but we're also gonna be talking about some pretty scary laws that have just been passed in Russia. Specifically, I'm talking about the laws that ban the advertisement of VPNs, yes you heard me correct, and another great law that now bans Russians from searching unlawful and extremist content on the internet. Technically meaning that if you want to be a law-abiding citizen on the Russian internet, you need to first find out what is banned before you browse the internet. However, even searching for those banned things in itself might be breaking the law. It's incredible. Alright, first of all, let's talk about this new epic app that is going to replace all social media in Russia. The super app in question is known as Max. Yes, that is the actual name, and it's an app actually developed by VK. VK is essentially a huge social media conglomerate in Russia. VK used to be known as Vkontakte and originally was started as a Facebook copycat. The original creator of VK, Pavel Durov, actually went on to create Telegram. And VK itself in Russia right now is basically like fully owned by the government. It is fully controlled by the state. And they released this new Max app, the idea of which is basically to kind of be the Russian WeChat. Like I said, yes, this is not a joke. In order to use the app, you have to actually register with your real Russian passport. So there is no anonymity whatsoever. But they're actually trying to sell that as a feature because supposedly on this Max app, apart from messaging your friends, you can also use governmental services and like get signatures on your documents. And you can even supposedly use this app as an ID card in Russia. Sounds great, except that the Russian people are really not buying it. Because a lot of Russians basically see this app as a piece of spyware that is trying to replace all the normal Western apps that everybody already uses. The Russian government also paid a ton of Russian influencers to advertise this new app, and the advertisements were so embarrassing and obnoxious that it actually became a meme.
Братва, сегодня нашел такое новое приложение от российских разработчиков под названием Max. Я офигел, ребята. Заходишь в приложение, а там танцуют голые женщины. На вкладке снизу сразу можно открыть казино и поставить свою хату. Через госуслуги можно сразу взять кредит.
Я недавно скачала приложение Max.
Yeah, so that first video right there is ironic. It's a guy who's making fun of the advertisements, okay? And now this right here. This is kind of what started everything, this video.
Я недавно скачала приложение Max, и знаете что? Я просто офигела с того, что это приложение ловит даже на парковке. Я 2 часа проболтала по телефону без остановки, и связь ни разу не прервалась.
Что национальный...
Yeah, so just for content, this is like an influencer and a rap artist in Russia known as Instasamka. She's also like a complete piece of shit, by the way. She used to be like a degenerate influencer who like leaked her nudes and stuff as like a PR move, and she's constantly getting into fights. She's kind of like Azealia Banks, low-key. She's probably gonna think that's a compliment. And what's the funniest is that right now she's like also trying to be super traditional and like patriotic and stuff, and she's talking about how we need to police the internet and make sure this Western degeneracy doesn't spread, even though she literally was that Western degeneracy like a couple of years ago, and she still is. She did an advertisement for this Max app, essentially saying complete nonsense, some basic shit, that apparently the app is so good that even at a parking lot you have great service. And here also is a screenshot of another Russian influencer, Valya Karnaval, I think, also saying here, I'm in shock. With Max, every phone call is like being there in person. Even when you move, and even inside an elevator, you get great coverage. So it's also quite funny because like these are just basic features that you have if you have internet on your phone. It's just that in Russia recently, especially in big cities like St. Petersburg and Moscow, they've been having trouble with mobile service because the government just shuts off internet for people because of drone attacks from Ukraine. So like it's just poetic, right? Try this new messenger app, guys. It actually works.
Что национальный мессенджер — это вещь необходимая, в первую очередь, для защиты интересов своих собственных граждан. Потому что, когда тебе звонят всякие скамеры через WhatsApp, у них нет никакой ответственности, и WhatsApp с этим ничего не сделает. А через национальный мессенджер быть мошенником станет гораздо сложнее, потому что все ребята, которые там будут зареганы, будут все идентифицированы, привязаны, разумеется, к паспорту, и будут дорожить своей репутацией. Это как минимум.
This guy is also another sellout. He's like a famous designer in Russia, Artemy Lebedev. Web designer, not clothing designer. I mean, I guess you could tell. But yeah, he's like a piece of shit, and he's also whitewashing this, obviously, because he's a complete sellout to the government. He's been for a few years now, so he's also saying that it's actually good that you have to dox yourself and register with a passport, because that gives you more security. Потому что мы русские друг друга не обманываем, да? Such dumbasses, man. And essentially, as a result of this kind of obnoxious advertising, that is obviously just complete bullshit, everybody in Russia has been making fun of this and making their own versions of an advertisement for this Max app. But ironically,
Макс лучше Телеграма. Я зарегался в Макс. Сначала было немного непривычно после телеги, но быстро втянулся. Интерфейс удобный.
I don't even know if he's trying to make a point that, you know, people who sell out read text, you know, because they clearly don't care and they're lying. Or if he's actually doing an ad here and he was just like, if he's actually being paid by the government and doing meta commentary at the same time. I'm not even sure what's going on here.
Интерфейс удобный, все работает четко, а главное своя, отечественная платформа. Приятно осознавать, что можно не зависеть от иностранных сервисов. Советую попробовать. Текст не редактировать, информацию в скобках удалить, оплата по ранее указанным реквизитам в течение 15 минут после публикации.
Right. He is being satirical. Okay, I see. Here's another example. Yeah, so it says right here, by the way, in the great new app Max, you have a great function called 1 + 1 = 3. When you're talking to a friend, an FSB major uncle joins your call automatically and listens to what you're saying very intensively, and he does not even break up your conversation. So, obviously making the point that the app is gonna spy on you and send everything to the government, that you cannot say anything that goes against it on this app. Or this one, for example. Here it says, I recently installed the Messenger Max, and you know what? I'm really happy about it, because Max works absolutely everywhere, and now I can go to jail for memes at any moment. And thanks to the connection to Gosuslugi, which is like Russia's e-government app, my data goes right to the Kremlin 100 times faster and without any middlemen such as FSB. And I also forgot to say that it also works 24/7. So once again, you get it, and by far my favorite meme out of all of them is this one.
Поздравляю с мальчиком, как вы его назвали?
Я назвала его Макс, он еще такой маленький, но уже отлично ловит. Не ребенок, а идеальная связь.
Такой маленький, а слил всю переписку ФСБ. Поздравляю с мальчиком, как вы...
Now even kids in Russia are being named after the great messenger Max. All jokes aside, right, it is pretty sad, and it is pretty bad what's going on. Technically, yes, you could say it's great that Russia is gonna have its own kind of WeChat copy, because WeChat, I guess, is handy, but yes, when the government owns every single social media and has, you know, you have to actually register with an ID on it. I don't know, I think that's a slippery slope, especially in Russia these days, you know what I'm saying? I mean, even if you use other social media, it's still not safe. But with this one, surely you cannot say anything that goes against the government in a chat or something. And the thing is, by this response, by these memes coming out, you can clearly see that people are sort of pushing back against this aggressive, stupid advertisements that the Russian government is paying influencers for. People are trying to push back against the censorship, and, you know, people are feeling like their rights and their privacy is being infringed on, right? But the thing is, I just think that the Russian government is going to get what they want in the end, you know? People will make jokes, people will make fun of it, and talk about how, you know, the censorship is getting worse, but the thing is, Russia probably will go on and ban WhatsApp, and there's gonna be way less options for people who are not tech savvy, who don't know how to use a VPN, and these people will have to use Max, and the Russian government will have an even tighter grip and will strangle the users of the Russian side of the internet even more, which is exactly why it's important in this day and age to be more tech savvy when it comes to using the internet and consuming news and information. That is why I partnered with the great people over at ReadPartner for this video. ReadPartner allows individuals, small teams, and large organizations organize their media monitoring operations in one place. With ReadPartner, you can create timelines that will allow you to monitor traditional sources, keywords all over the internet, social media trends, accounts, and so on. You can even create anonymous email inboxes, which allow you to subscribe to different mailing lists and newsletters without flooding your personal or work inbox. If that sounds convincing, then go over to the link down in the description to try ReadPartner and receive a 14-day zero commitment free trial. Plus, you can also use the code NFKRZ2 at checkout to get 34% off of ReadPartner after your free trial. I've been working with ReadPartner for a while, it's a great platform with a great team. Make sure to try it out through the link in the description, and even if you just sign up for the 14-day free trial, it helps to show the brand that the sponsorship was worthwhile and also supports the channel. Thanks to ReadPartner for sponsoring this video, and let's get right back into it. Because now it is time to talk about the insane laws that Russia has passed recently, where they once again made the internet less free for the Russian citizens. Here I'm actually on the governmental news website, because I think it's funny to read the news here, because they're actually so out of touch with reality. On the 22nd of July, the Russian State Duma has signed a new law that bans people from searching so-called extremist materials. Apart from that, they also introduced a fine for owners of VPN services to block unlawful information by the order of the Russian government. So the Russian government wants, like, NordVPN, for example, whatever, to ban websites for Russians by the order of the Russian government, even though, like, the whole point of a VPN, obviously, is to visit websites that your government has banned on the internet, right? But I want to mainly focus on the ban of searching for extremist material. Now here's some code, by the way, guys. A member of the Committee of the State Duma on State Building, Alexander Teterdinko, while presenting this law, said that it is aimed to protect the safety of the country and its citizens, of course. It's always about protecting us. I would like to point out that this law is not going to affect the average person and is not going to affect the overwhelming majority of the Russian citizens. The law is aimed to stop those who are trying to use the internet in order to commit crimes. So this law is introducing a fine from 3 to 5,000 rubles for regular people for quote-unquote knowingly and willfully searching for extremist content on the internet. In our understanding, currently we have a very important issue of restricting Russian citizens from these extremist materials. A member of the government essentially here mentioned that it is only going to be considered an administrative offense if the user intentionally accessed extremist materials. So the user must be aware of the fact that these materials have been added to the registry of the extremism. And the perpetrator also has to have the intention to access these materials using a search engine, a messenger, or a VPN, if these materials have been blocked by Roskomnadzor, essentially the Russian government's internet watchdog. The law states that you must have intention, and that the user had to know before that these materials are in the registry. Only 5,500 materials are currently fit to this description and can be, considered an administrative offense if you Google them. And according to this law, access to social networks that are considered extremist organizations is not going to be restricted. So, if you're not familiar, Instagram and Meta is actually considered as extremist and terrorist organizations in Russia, so they're basically just talking about Instagram without saying it. A lot of Russians still use Instagram despite the fact that it's banned in Russia and you have to have a VPN to access it, so, they're clearly trying to make it a little bit more palatable to people that, at least you can use Instagram. We'll give you that. Let's keep reading here. If the user does not know of the fact that this material was added in the registry of extremist materials, and he has no intention, even if he uses a VPN, then he is not going to be fined in any way. The police has to prove that intent was there, and that is the main task. That would allow such an act to become an administrative offense. So yeah, you guys get it basically. It's what can I say? This is literally 1984, at this point it is. If you have some brain cells, I'm pretty sure you understand what's going on here, right? It's pretty obvious that they're making it so that now Googling something that is banned in Russia is going to also become a punishable offense, like crime thing, essentially, right? if you even want to know something about the things that are banned, or if you want to know what is banned technically, that makes you a person who has the intent to access that and to see those extremist materials, I guess, right? I mean, according to the Russian law, I guess, because the Russian court, the Russian police is like a complete joke. The Russian police is like just known to torture people and to get any sort of information they want out of them so that, you know, they can make anybody confess to anything. In the Russian courts, you have like a 99.9 conviction rate, so nobody ever wins in the Russian court in these cases. So like, yeah, good luck proving in a Russian court that you didn't have intention of accessing these extremist materials, right? Good luck, because I don't think the law is gonna be on your side, because the point of this law is to once again punish dissent, punish thinking against the grain, and to make people so scared that they're gonna be even scared to Google basic stuff. And you guys might think, okay, come on, extremist material, right? They're probably talking about, like, terrorists and so on, right? I mean, yeah, sure. Once again, in Russia, Instagram and Facebook is considered a terrorist organization. The LGBT movement has actually recently been called terrorists and extremists in Russia. And also, for example, Alexei Navalny and his, like, team, his anti-corruption foundation, they're also considered extremists and terrorists in Russia. So, like, the range of things that can be considered extremists and terrorists in Russia is really, really big. And again, really the only way from now on to not be scared of this in Russia and to sleep well at night is to simply just stop Googling anything that you might think might be banned. So basically, become an NPC and only start listening to what the government is telling you. That's exactly what they want here. And also, on top of all of that, like I said earlier in the video, another thing that Russia has just introduced in this new law is that now in Russia it's forbidden to even advertise VPN services as a whole. And the law actually says that if a person advertises certain apps that can avoid basically these restrictions imposed by the Russian government, there will be fines. If we're talking about individual persons, it's going to be a fine from 50 to 80,000 rubles. And if we're talking about essentially business owners, it's going to be 500,000 rubles. And also, according to Russian governmental officials, simply writing and mentioning VPNs on social media is not going to be prohibited. Simple discussion or an expression of one's personal opinion are not advertising. So basically, long story short, right now in Russia, if you're a public person, if you're like a YouTuber or an influencer, you are banned from advertising VPNs. It's just not something you can do. It's a sponsorship that you have to refuse. And if you're a business owner, which you probably are if you're an influencer, you will be fined 500,000 rubles. So basically like, you know, $5,000 or something for the egregious act of telling the Russian people how to avoid these very important restrictions that are definitely, you know, making our country safer and making everybody safer. And, you know, it's like, it's really funny because, you know, this works and people are already doing it. The only Russian-speaking YouTubers and Russian YouTubers who now advertise VPNs and have VPN sponsorships are those who are anti-Putin openly and who immigrated. Those are the only people who talk about VPNs. If you have like a Russian influencer who lives in Russia and makes content for, you know, the average NPC, they no longer talk about VPNs. You know, they will never mention it ever because they just cannot advertise it. Once again, you cannot let the Russian people know about these terrible, terrible apps that can make you access dirty, disgusting, extremist content on the internet. Like criticism of the government. And yeah, I mean, this is pretty much where Russia is going now. These new laws that have been introduced are just part of a way bigger puzzle. Recently, for example, in a video called Russian Influencers Are Cooked, I talked about how every Russian influencer now has to get like a special number in the registry of the Russian government, and they can only post things that are approved by the government. And the Russian government is planning to like restrict Russian people from sharing content that is made by people who are not added to the registry of the government. So the Russian government wants to make it so that people will be fined if they post like a video by somebody who is against the government, basically. They want people to be able to only repost and like share content that is made by people who are approved by the Russian government, who do not talk about politics and so on. So it's fucking insane. Check that video out if you want more information. But yeah guys, what can I say? Once again, Russia, the greatest country in the world with the greatest free speech in the world. I'm very proud to be Russian, very, very proud of where my country is going, of course. Great job, guys. Thanks for banning everyone and everything. You're definitely making Russian people a lot safer. Yeah, guys, I mean, I guess this is gonna be pretty much it for today's video, though. If you guys did enjoy it, then please make sure to slap the like button. And as always, if you guys would like to support me additionally, that is financially, then go over to the link down in the description, become a channel member on YouTube, or buy me a coffee. It helps me out a lot. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Peace.